music has always flirted with excess. The lights, the crowds, the lifestyle, all of it invited indulgence on a scale most people never imagined. But there is a line between rock and roll mythology and outright collapse. These are 10 rock stars who crossed it. Number 10, Scott Weiland. Velvet Revolver's public statement in April 2008 pulled no punches. The supergroup, featuring former members of Guns N' Roses alongside the Stone Temple Pilots frontman, announced they were severing ties with Weiland due to his inability to show up sober enough to perform. Fan-filmed footage from 2007 and 2008 shows a man swaying at the microphone, lyrics dissolving into mumbles, while Slash and Duff McKagan exchanged visible glances of disbelief behind him. The tragedy was that Weiland's voice, at its peak, was genuinely extraordinary. His work on Stone Temple Pilots' debut Core in 1993 had introduced a generation to his raw, elastic vocal style. But the years of substance abuse eroded both the talent and the reliability until neither band could sustain him. Scott Weiland passed away in December 2015 at age 48 from an accidental drug overdose on his tour bus in Bloomington, Minnesota. Number 9, John Bonham. 40 measures of vodka. That figure, documented by Led Zeppelin's road manager Richard Cole, represents what John Bonham reportedly consumed on September 25, 1980, the last day of his life. By the late 1970s, the greatest rock drummer who ever lived had become dangerously dependent on alcohol. And bootleg recordings from the 1977 American tour reveal a musician whose legendary precision had grown ragged and inconsistent in ways that genuinely alarmed his bandmates. Led Zeppelin canceled the remaining dates of that 1977 tour after a family emergency involving Robert Plant. But the internal concern over Bonham's drinking was already mounting. The coroner's report following his death confirmed asphyxiation caused by acute pulmonary edema from alcohol consumption. He was 32 years old. On December 4, 1980, the remaining members of Led Zeppelin released a statement saying they could not continue without him. They never did. Number 8, Bon Scott. The night of February 19, 1980 began like many others for AC/DC's original frontman. Heavy drinking at a London music venue called The Music Machine, a ride home in a friend's car, and what seemed like a routine decision to let him sleep it off in the back seat. Alistair Kinnear, who drove him home, left Scott there and returned the next morning to find him unresponsive. The coroner recorded death by misadventure, caused by acute alcohol poisoning. Scott was 33. What made Bon Scott's story particularly bittersweet was that he had transformed himself from a troubled young man into one of the most charismatic frontmen in hard rock history. Highway to Hell, released just months before his death, had finally broken AC/DC into mainstream America. The band came within inches of our dissolving entirely before recruiting Brian Johnson and recording Back in Black, which became one of the best-selling albums in history, a tribute carried by grief. Number 7, Jim Morrison. On March 1, 1969, a visibly intoxicated Jim Morrison took the stage in Miami and proceeded to destroy the Doors' touring career in a single evening. Accounts from that night describe Morrison ranting between songs, haranguing the audience, forgetting lyrics to some of the band's biggest hits, and allegedly exposing himself, though the latter remains contested. What is not contested is that Morrison was formally charged with lewd and lascivious behavior, indecent exposure, and public intoxication. The legal fallout was immediate and severe. Dozens of upcoming Doors concerts were canceled as promoters pulled out across the country. Venues refused to book them. The band that had scored 5 top 40 hits in 2 years found themselves effectively exiled from live performance in America. Morrison, whose drinking and weight gain had already alarmed bandmates Ray Manzarek and Robbie Krieger, died in Paris on July 3, 1971. He was 27. The Miami charges had still not been resolved.
If I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much.
Number 6. Ozzy Osbourne. Tony Iommi's 2011 autobiography, Iron Man, My Journey Through Heaven and Hell with Black Sabbath, describes a frontman who had become functionally unreachable. By the late 1970s, Ozzy Osbourne's alcohol and drug consumption had escalated to the point where rehearsals collapsed, recording sessions were wasted, and performances became genuinely unpredictable. Iommi wrote of showing up to find Ozzy in no condition to sing time after time until the band had exhausted every alternative. Black Sabbath fired Ozzy in April 1979, replacing him with Ronnie James Dio, whose disciplined approach and powerful vocals gave the band a creative second chapter. Ozzy himself, in his 2009 autobiography I Am Ozzy, did not dispute the circumstances of his dismissal. What followed, ironically, was one of rock's most unlikely solo careers, guided by manager and future wife Sharon Arden. His debut solo album, Blizzard of Oz, arrived in 1980 and sold over 7 million copies worldwide.
I'm still looking for the answer.
Before we continue, which of these performances shocked you the most? Were you ever in the crowd when a rock star clearly should not have been on that stage? Drop a comment and let us know where you are watching from. Number 5. Alice Cooper.
You got me on the run.
A case of beer and a bottle of whiskey every single day. Alice Cooper has described that routine himself in multiple interviews and in the 2014 documentary Super Duper Alice Cooper as the reality of his life through much of the 1970s and into the early 1980s. The theatrical shock rocker behind Welcome to My Nightmare and Billion Dollar Babies was consuming alcohol at a rate that left him with almost no memory of recording certain albums, entire tours reduced to blackouts.
I'm a legend, you're at peace and I must hide.
The breaking point came when Cooper was hospitalized after vomiting blood, and his physician delivered a diagnosis that was blunt and final: continue drinking and die. Cooper entered treatment, found a spiritual foundation that steadied him, and achieved sobriety in the early 1980s, a recovery he has maintained for decades. He has since spoken openly about his alcoholism, framing it as inseparable from understanding his legacy, and his golf game, which he took up as a sober hobby, became nearly as famous as his stage shows.
I got the friends 'cause they're green paper. They can't be seen.
Number 4. Guns N' Roses. Duff McKagan's pancreas ruptured in 1994. That single medical fact summarizes what years of alcohol consumption, at a level that shocked even hardened rock industry veterans, had done to the Guns N' Roses bassist. Throughout the Use Your Illusion tour of 1991 to 1993, one of the longest and most chaotic stadium tours in rock history, band members performed in states ranging from heavily intoxicated to barely functional. Shows started 2 or 3 hours late, routinely with crew members and bandmates scrambling to get everyone upright and on stage. Slash's 2007 autobiography details specific nights where he could barely hold his guitar, fueled by Jack Daniels and heroin simultaneously, while still somehow delivering solos that audiences remembered for decades. The combustible chemistry that produced Appetite for Destruction in 1987, an album that sold over 30 million copies worldwide, was inseparable from the self-destruction that eventually tore the band apart. McKagan, after nearly dying, achieved sobriety and became one of rock's most vocal advocates for recovery.
We got everything you want. We know the names. We are the people that can find.
Number 3. Keith Moon. November 20th, 1973, the Cow Palace in San Francisco. Midway through The Who's performance of Won't Get Fooled Again, the man widely regarded as the greatest rock drummer in history collapsed behind his kit. Moon had consumed a combination of alcohol and horse tranquilizers, and his body simply gave out. Pete Townshend stepped to the microphone and asked the audience of thousands whether anyone could play drums. A 19-year-old fan named Scott Halpin raised his hand, climbed on stage, and finished the show. It is one of the most documented and extraordinary moments in rock history, equal parts hilarious and genuinely alarming. Moon's drinking and pill consumption were legendary even within an industry accustomed to excess. The Who had already been banned from entire hotel chains by this point. Keith Moon died on September 7, 1978, at age 32, from an overdose of heminevrin, a medication specifically prescribed to manage alcohol withdrawal symptoms. The irony was not lost on anyone who loved him. Number 2. Jimi Hendrix. His final concert performance took place on September 6, 1970, at the Isle of Fehmarn Festival in Germany, 12 days before his death. Accounts from that night describe a visibly impaired Hendrix delivering an uneven, troubled set to a rain-soaked audience that responded with audible frustration. A portion of the crowd booed. The man who had transfixed the world at Woodstock in August 1969, playing the Star-Spangled Banner in a way that redefined what a guitar could say, was struggling to hold it together. Charles Cross, in his definitive Hendrix biography Room Full of Mirrors, documents the escalating pattern of alcohol and sleeping pill use that characterized Hendrix's final months. The BBC performance on January 4, 1969, where a reportedly drinking Hendrix abandoned the planned set live on air to play an impromptu tribute to Cream, had already illustrated his unpredictability. Jimi Hendrix died on September 18, 1970, in London at age 27, after asphyxiating on his own vomit following a combination of wine and Vesperac sleeping tablets. Number 1. Shane MacGowan. For most musicians, drinking too much to perform was a crisis. For the Pogues' frontman, it was practically the operating standard, and for years, it was part of what made him magnetic. The ragged, slurring intensity that MacGowan brought to songs like Fairy Tale of New York, the track he co-wrote with Kirsty MacColl that became one of the most beloved Christmas songs in British history, seemed to come directly from a man who had stared into the bottom of enough glasses to understand genuine longing. But by 1991, the Pogues had reached their limit. Spider Stacy and the remaining band members confirmed that MacGowan's drinking had made performing impossible, and he was let go from the band he had founded. The 2020 Julian Temple documentary Crock of Gold, A Few Rounds with Shane MacGowan, captured a man still beloved, still sharp in unexpected moments, still surrounded by the mythology he had built one chaotic show at a time.
Start the train, set the night on fire.
Shane MacGowan passed away in November 2023 at age 65. His songs remain improbably perfect, written by a man who performed them in beautiful ruins.